AITA for respecting my late wife's wishes about keeping her family out. My wife unfortunately passed away last year when our daughter was only 3 months old. It was very difficult to get through, but my little girl and I are keeping it together. My daughter is 16 months now and there's been pressure from my wife's sister to let her side of the family see my daughter. The issue is my wife had absolutely no contact with her family since she was 18, so 16 years of not seeing them. Her home life was something she never wanted to talk about. It always made her upset, so I never pushed her to tell me. All I know is they were manipulative and abusive in some form. She left as soon as she was 18, changed her last name and never spoke to them again. 4 years ago she got into contact with her older sister and she's the only person my wife allowed into our lives. By that I mean we met through video chat but never actually in person. We still maintained contact after my wife passed and we met a couple times before and during my wife's funeral. My sister-in-law called me a few weeks ago. She mentioned her parents would really like to meet their granddaughter and want to start over. They didn't attend my wife's funeral because they knew she wouldn't want them to be there. One thing my wife always made clear is that she did not want them near our daughter, ever. Telling my sil this, well, she got very upset. She said it's been years and yes, her parents were awful people. Again, won't say exactly what they did, but losing their daughter has made them reflect on things. And they want to meet my daughter since my wife never gave them that chance. She's still trying to convince me and so far I've said no. Each time I just feel more and more bad for denying them, but it's what my wife wanted. Her parents found my Facebook. Pretty sure Sil might have told them, and I've gotten dozens of messages begging me to let my daughter know her mom's side of the family. And I shouldn't keep her from knowing her grandparents for past mistakes. None of them will leave me alone, and Sil has said a few times that I may be grieving losing a wife, but to have some empathy for them losing a child. Because right now I'm being too heartless for denying them the chance to meet the only piece of my wife they have left. I'm at my wit's end with this because I'm not sure if I am being an asshole or not. I don't know the whole reason why my wife never wanted to see them again. Even if I did though, I'd still like to honor her wish. The way they are being, however, makes it hard not to wonder if I am. NTA. All I know is they were manipulative and abusive in some form. The best prediction of future behavior is past behavior. None of them will leave me alone. I'm at my wit's end with this because I'm not sure if I am being an asshole or not. You're getting a glimpse of their manipulative tactics. One thing my wife always made clear is that she did not want them near our daughter, ever. Honor her wish. Heart. NTA. The fact that all of them are bombarding you with guilt trips and completely ignoring your boundaries shows you at least partially why your wife ran away from them and wanted nothing to do with them. Seems like Sil is just as bad as her parents. Maybe it's time to block all of them. NTA. Do not let them have anything to do with your daughter. The last thing you want is to allow them to have a relationship with your daughter and then after a while you see exactly why your wife didn't want anything to do with them. Because depending where you live, if they have an established relationship with your daughter, they can go for grandparents' rights. As of right now they have no grounds. Cut the Sil off to she's just giving you a taste of how toxic the rest of your wife's family are. Protect your child. Thank you for the advice. With everything on my plate it's just been so overwhelming, and now this whole situation. I want to be able to honor my wife's wishes. Whatever the reason was that made her cut all contact with them. And I've gotten dozens of messages begging me to let my daughter know her mom's side of the family. And I shouldn't keep her from knowing her grandparents for past mistakes. None of them will leave me alone, and Sil has said a few times that I may be grieving losing a wife, but to have some empathy for them losing a child. Because right now I'm being too heartless for denying them the chance to meet the only piece of my wife they have left. There is a red flag in my mind here. They're already failing to respect boundaries. I think this is NTA. But I also think you should take this story and some of the actual messages to r/raised by narcissists, their alarm bells are sensitively tuned, so I want to see whether there's anything in the actual messages themselves that they'd be able to point out immediately. As someone who was raised by narcissistic parents, just this post alone was proof that Op needs to honor his wife's wishes and communicate that to their daughter growing up so that she can make an informed decision when she's older. Op, you do not owe them shit. Their behavior doesn't magically change just because they lost their daughter. What they are really doing is seeking out your daughter to give them another chance to take from her to fulfill the void that got left when your wife left. It's in the feelings of power and manipulation. They see their granddaughter as fresh meat when they've been famished. Your Sil is merely making excuses, minimizing their behavior as she's still in contact with them and has to cope somehow. AITA for telling my dad he needs to man up and be a father. I, 16M, have 3 younger sisters. 11, 9 plus 9. Our mom passed away due to complications with the twins. From a pretty young age I took a lot on with looking after my sisters because my dad was struggling with grief. My aunt lived with us until the twins were about 18 months, but after that it was all on me. I've never minded. When my sister was 5 her school was talking about moms and dads, and she came home and asked if I was her mom because she didn't have one. Since then it's sort of been a joke, and all 3 of them call me their brother mom. Anyway, my younger 2 sisters have just started their periods. I learned how to deal with them pretty quick after my first sister, but our dad is still pretty clueless. 2 days ago I was cleaning a pillow one of the girls had bled on and he got pretty angry, and treated it like she'd pissed on it, asking her why she hadn't just held it or gone to the bathroom. I tried explaining that periods didn't work like that, but he didn't seem to want to listen. I sent the girls down to the store to go buy some chocolates and we had a pretty big telling match, at which point I said, you need to stop using mom as an excuse to be a shitty guy. Man up and be a fucking father. He left, the girls came back and we settled down in bed to watch movies and eat snacks. My aunt showed up and called me an ungrateful little cunt, because I don't know what it feels like to lose a wife. I told her she doesn't know what it feels like to lose a mother and be forced to take on the responsibility of 3 kids. Basically, everyone is just fighting now. Dad didn't come back until this morning, but he did apologize. I told him an apology wouldn't cut it and have since refused to talk to him. Am I the asshole? I know I could probably work with him and help him, but I'm so bitter I don't want to. NTA, my dude. Your father plus aunt / whoever enabling your dad to act like a deadbeat father is leaving his underaged kids the whole night. And your aunt was there to tell you off, or was she there to stay with you whilst your dad was gone? Good on you to be there for your sisters, and I hope your dad looks back on this and finally steps up. You don't owe him anything. He's the adult and has to show that he means what he says. She just yelled and left, probably to go pick my dad up from whatever bar he dragged himself to. But thank you. I just want to do my best by them. First off, I'm so sorry you lost your mom. Losing a parent is one of the hardest things to go through, especially at such a young age. Secondly, thank you for stepping up and taking care of your siblings. That's a big responsibility and you seem to be doing it with a lot of caring and very little resentment toward your siblings. Third, you are NTA. Your dad needs to be an adult, and I'm so glad for you that you found the wherewithal to call him out and demand better for yourself and your family. Stick to your guns. Lastly, I can't believe your aunt called you names and diminished both your grief and your continued parenting of your siblings. How awful. Don't listen to her. You are perfectly entitled to your feelings of anger and demands for your dad to step up. Thank you. I just want to do my best by them, honestly. NTA, anyone who shames you, give them the truth. My dad yelled and attempted to shame my sister for having her period. He refuses to learn and verbally berated her while telling her to hold it in. I am not willingly to have anyone hurt my sister and I have no problem doing it again. If your aunt comes back with respect BS, look her in the eyes and say, are you able to hold your period in? I'll definitely try that. Thank you. NTA. Although your father lost a loved one, it doesn't give him an excuse to neglect his children. Plus, you lost your mother. Does you aunt not understand that? Your father sounds like a sad excuse of a human being, And your aunt sounds like an enabler who thinks the parent is always right, although your father is acting nothing like a parent should. They are both TA here. Hope you can bring sense to your aunt and the rest of your extended family so they can maybe convince you father, because he seems like a real piece of work. AITA for kicking my mom out of the room so I could talk to my doctor privately. I'm gonna keep this short. I, 16F, have felt very anxious all of the time, feel really depressed, and so on. I've mentioned this to my mom, but she just told me that it's in my head and that I'm fine. So my mom took me to the doctor yesterday with my sister for checkups. And when I got the chance I had asked if I could speak with the doctor alone. Mom said she wanted to hear, and I said no and told her to get out of the room. She told me she was my mother and needed to know what was going on, and I told her again to get out. She reluctantly left the room with my sister. After the appointment, my mom accused me of hiding things from her and told me I needed to tell her right now what was wrong. I said no. She told my dad, who had a fit on me and said I was very rude and needed to apologize to my mother immediately. AITA? NTA. When I was your age, my mum did come with me to a doctor's appointment where I opened up about being depressed/anxious. But I was clearly finding it hard to be honest with her sitting next to me for fear of upsetting her, and so my doctor asked her to leave. You need a safe and judgment-free zone to express the problems you've been experiencing, and it's great that you were able to create that for yourself. No, NTA. Doctors should ask parents of teens to leave the room at some point during appointments so they can talk freely. It's also important for teens to get used to speaking to doctors for themselves. Good medical practice in general, perfectly fine for you to do. Do you think that your depression and anxiety might have something to do with your controlling mother and father who doesn't listen to you? In any case, good on you for standing up for yourself. NTA. Yeah, I read her parents' response and thought, gee, I can't imagine why Op has anxiety. You're most certainly NTA. NTA obviously, and I must say I'm a little confused why it's not your doctor who told her to go outside so that you'd be alone with them at some point of the consultation.